Again. All right, now do the intro for the Wind.
Okay, and here we have TheWind.
Doing a six spool?
Yeah, doing this. I am surprised. Getting ready, known as, just won the last game, our purple Zerg. He is... Wait,
we're not going to do intros because he's spawning. He's doing a six spool. When six spools happen, sometimes we just don't have intros, QXC.
Is that how it works?
That's how it works here sometimes, man.
Okay, apparently six spools equal no intros. Good
six
to know.
spools, 2-gate proxies. Sometimes you just don't do intros.
Okay, we don't need intros. He's six spooling. He's going all in.
And luckily, does TAiLS see the Overlord? He didn't see it.
I thought he saw it. Oh, well, I guess if he saw it, he wouldn't have moved the probes out. But yeah, so the Overlord sneaks in, and this is actually really, really good for the Wind right now. One of the things about the six spool is you can't send a drone out early to scout where your opponent is.
Yeah, and he knows right off the bat.
Yeah, he knows. He knows. Now, I'm actually... Well, either way, whatever. He knows, TAiLS doesn't know. It's good for the Wind.
It's good for the Wind.
Don't think too hard about
line.
that. Yeah,
QXC's all about the bottom lines, man.
I think I might have made some kind of like mental error there where it doesn't actually matter, but either way, he knows, his opponent doesn't know.
Oh, man.
This is looking bad for TAiLS.
Yeah, he actually...
This is looking really scary. And the probe... puts the core down, skips the Zealot. Oh, man!
Here they come!
Oh, the Zerglings are in the base, and they are inside. Oh, no, he pulls the probes. Can TAiLS micro this good enough? Here we see the Zealot starting. He's not chrono boosting the Zealot, and he does let more Zerglings into the base. Chrono boosts out the Zealot, and here we see the Wind rallying more Zerglings to the base. This is all going to come down to micro here. This is going to be very hard for TAiLS. TAiLS, not a lot of economy right now. You can see he has one probe on gas right now. So he can get that early Stalker. I'm not sure if he wants to. I've never been six-spooled. Who cares? And here we see the probes. He does go into the smoke, just trying to micro around one Zealot, being supported by those kind of his armada of probes, the battalion, if you will. And the Zealot out of position, does not get caught. Picks off a bunch of probes here, does quite a bit of damage. The Zerglings backing up, needs to kill that pylon to stop, to get him supply stock. And here is that early Stalker coming out. The Stalker making it, might kill that Overlord. That would be very bad for the Wind.
Yeah, that Overlord is going to be possibly taken out. The thing is, back at home for the Wind, he actually hasn't really made...
Zerglings on the Stalker. The Stalker taking a lot of hits here. The probes actually trapping the Stalker. The Stalker does go down. Huge move by the Wind here.
Yeah, the Wind only has these two Zerglings in here, though. Right now, he still has only 6 drones. The same 6 drones from the very beginning.
The Wind doing quite a bit of damage here, but still, I'm not sure it's going to be enough. TAiLS under a lot of pressure at this point. Does put another pylon out. Why didn't that pylon block off? He
didn't make it in the right spot, unfortunately.
I don't understand. I think TAiLS thought he was safe. The pressure was off. He thought the Wind was droning back home. And the Wind is like, no, I'm not droning. I'm not droning.
He's not droning.
I don't drone. It's not what I do. I'm not about droning. I'm about six-pooling you. He does, I think he got the Overlords mostly out. You can see TAiLS is now committed a Zealot to actually blocking the ramp.
The ramp.
Yeah, thank you, Wolf.
Nice little block here. He actually tried to trap those Zerglings. A lot of those Zerglings on very low hit points. Back at home, the drones have gone up to 10. He's going to make a Baneling Nest. This is actually a very common follow-up to this attack, and I'll tell you why. The problem is when you... Oh, he cancels it, actually. But normally it's a common follow-up because your opponent doesn't get a lot of gas, doesn't make that many Stalkers. He sticks with most of these Zealots as he kind of tries to tech up.
Oh, and he takes out another probe. And the probe... What was I going to say? I was going to say some kind of peasant revolt thing. Anyways,
it's citizen's arrest.
Citizen's arrest. But I was actually thinking of Civil War. What was that war where the Americans revolted from the British?
The Revolutionary War?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I was thinking
QXC, aren't you an American? Shouldn't you know these things?
I know. Okay, so here we have 2 Zealots, and TAiLS does have a sentry at this point. It's actually looking... I don't know. What do you think? I think it's pretty even right now.
It is relatively even. The problem is he's got the tech going. He's got that sentry. His warp gate research is about 3/4 of the way done. And the Wind just, he can't make drones and attacking units, and it's a really scary time for him where he's trying to decide, is he going to kill me right now, or can I try to recover?
Yeah. I see what you're saying. And so we do have 2 Zealots. The Wind does need some Zerglings here to really deal with this. The Wind is stuck on 1 base for the time being. Speed is almost done, and he does take an expansion. So it looks like we're going to be transitioning into a fairly normal mid-game with TAiLS' slight tech advantage.
Yeah, I think TAiLS actually from here, he's adding those 2 gateways, he's making more sentries. I think from here he's going to do basically a 3-gate sentry expand in the mid-game because of the 6-pool opening. And this actually could be really bad for the Wind. These Zerglings are trapped. They shouldn't be trying to escape here. They should actually probably just try to attack the Zealot because he can eventually break through there, but he's just going to try to keep those Zerglings alive. Trapped again, and now there are enough sentries here to just kill the rest of these Zerglings. Nice control here by TAiLS, and all of the Zerglings will fall.
And that is actually really bad for the Wind. Those were his main. That's really what he was using to defend against these 2 Zealots at his base. That's what he was using to scout. And the Wind, a little bit of a kind of just passed out for a second. He's like, "What do I? My Queen's being attacked. What do I do about this? I don't." And here we see the Zealot almost gets that drone, does not quite get it. A bunch of Speedlings come out. And the TAiLS playing.
The TAiLS of the Wind and TAiLS.
TAiLS adding a bunch of sentries here, and it looks like we're going to see the fast expand.
Fast expand? I don't think so, man. We're 10 minutes into the game.
Okay, it's weird, man. 6 pools mess with your timings. You're like, oh, like 3-gate expand, he's expanding, like everyone's expanding. And the Zerglings almost get into the base, but he does see all these sentries moving out. He has to
realize there's a probe with this army on top of it all. He sees the probe, and now he's like, I thought that probe was for a Nexus, but now I'm starting to realize I'm in trouble. He's making a spine crawl at the top of his ramp. I don't think he can hold this natural. There's so many sentries. He's just going to lose the hatchery. That's the bottom line. I know you're all about bottom lines, man.
That's what I do. And this is actually looking really bad for the Wind at this point. You can see the pylon. He's getting ready for the warp-in above. TAiLS, no nonsense here. He's building, I think he's built 2, maybe 3 pylons. He's warping in units at Wind's base, no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely.
And don't you try and stop him.
Don't you try and stop. Even the probe was attacking that hatchery. It's a brave probe. There are 3 spines at the top. Spinecrawlers do pretty well against this army, but I don't know.
I think this is actually a good move by the Wind. Sentry's not so good at force fielding spine crawlers.
That's usually not. Spine crawlers unless they're uprooted, but I think those spine coolers are here to stay.
Spine coolers?
Spine crawlers? They're here to stay. I said that kind of weird, I have to admit. There's the robotics facility going down. The Nexus is up. There's no way really that the Wind can do anything from here. I mean, so he can't do anything to stop that Nexus. The sentry's just going to force field. He has enough sentries to where he will always have enough energy for a force field.
So if you're the Wind right now, what do you do?
Nidus. It's like the only thing you can do, man. He is getting a lair.
What about slow Overlord drops? I'm thinking Brood War style with lurkers, that kind of thing. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I don't know, man. That's pretty expensive.
I'm just thinking, like, get all your Overlords, put every unit you've got, like 20 roaches or whatever.
Maybe even some drones.
You know what? Queens, drones, anything. And just ferry them across and go for a base trade.
Go for a base trade.
You save 300 minerals, you snipe his Nexus right away, you put a hatch down, you start mining resources, you just let your base die. Don't even worry about it.
Well, here's a scouting Phoenix in here. It's a hallucination, of course. Yep. Does see everything. He sees the lair. And look back at TAiLS' base. He has pylons spread out everywhere. There's no way a Nidus is going to catch him off guard.
TAiLS is prepared for anything.
The Wind is getting burrowed movement right now, QXC. He wants to break out of those force fields.
Unfortunately for the Wind, TAiLS is getting an observer. So this is going to be really tough for him to actually do. But he is spreading creep kind of past that army. Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
One thing to note here, or rather before, when the hallucinated Phoenix dies, it's really good for the Zerg player to actually see that die, because then he knows 100% the guy he's not stargating.
Right.
It's a hallucination. But if you see that Phoenix fly through, you're like, is this the first of many? Is he going Phoenixes and Void Rays? Do I need Hydras? No, it's hallucinated. Don't worry. OGS the Wind, it's cool. Well, not really, but...
I don't know, QXC. I think for the Wind right now, it's anything but cool. He is in a lot of trouble, and he can't leave his base. He's going to have burrowed movement, like we were mentioning, but there is an observer there, and the observer kind of knows he just needs to hang out here until these roaches come down. I
think TAiLS might actually just try and break this. He sees the spine crawlers at the edge of the the ramp, and with the Observer, you can see them.
Uh-oh, the Observer might get taken out.
See you, Observer. And that's actually really good for the Wind. It's very hard to make anything happen when.
Oh, there's the second Observer, though.
TAiLS going for the Spine Crawl is going to just take them out here.
He might force field these Roaches over. Of course, they do have burrowed movement, but will he react fast enough? Does lose one Roach, and all of the Spine Crawlers fall. TAiLS is kind of trading armies, knowing he's got a better economy right now. Once he keeps that Roach count low enough, he can just keep making his own units, whereas the Wind just doesn't have the economy to keep up with him.
And this is a really hard position for the Wind to work with. And this is kind of like what we saw in the first game, I think, where the TAiLS, he had a good advantage, and he wasn't in any hurry. He massaged his advantage and turned it into a win. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. The Wind doesn't have a lot of options, but it's not immediately obvious how TAiLS would actually win this game, besides just busting up the ramp, which I think is what he's going to do shortly.
Yeah, I think he may take a third base first. Uh-oh. He actually doesn't realize these Roaches are sneaking down. He could have had a better concave at the bottom of the ramp to attack them, but he's actually leaving.
I think the Observer died, which is why he's backing up.
Oh, yeah, I don't see the Observer anywhere near. Yeah, he actually did lose it, so that's exactly why. Good eye, QXC.
That's what I do.
You got glasses, man. I know those aren't just for looks.
Nope, they're for seeing. And so the TAiLS does manage to pick off a bunch of Zerglings there, but it's really tough. If you're in the Wind's position, what do you do? Your opponent's army is huge, your spawning positions are close, your mining is way lower, and he's had eyes on him for so long, it's hard for the Wind to be like, I'm just gonna go Broodlords, because TAiLS knows he's not going Hive, he hasn't seen an infestation, like, it's hard to come up with something to surprise your opponent with.
Exactly, and I think he's just gonna try to play a longer game here, just not gonna work. Both the watchtowers have been taken by TAiLS this entire game, even as Probes checking around for hidden expansions. He saw those Zerglings coming. He's going to move out here and do what I don't even want to call it a timing attack. I just want to call it an end-the-game attack. And I think that, unfortunately for the Wind, he's made this hatchery here. He's committed a lot of resources to that, but even if he didn't, I just don't think he has enough economy to keep making these Roaches. They're very expensive. There's just so many Stalkers here.
And this is really interesting. I'm not sure what the Wind is planning to do with those Roaches. Maybe engage this. Oh, this is actually really good by the Wind here. He takes the army from both sides, and he has a good concave on both. This is an example of you have to use everything you've got to the best you can. Unfortunately for the Wind, I don't think it's going to be enough, but it's quite a good effort there. He does outmaneuver his opponent. If the armies were even close in size, the Wind would have just smashed him, and there's the GG.
GG. You're exactly right. The ability to maneuver around like that in those kind of tense moments is a great way to try to catch up. Like you said, he had the concave in every single area he was attacking from. Neither player had any upgrades except the burrow movement, and being able to attack a larger army than yours but having better surface area every single angle you're attacking from really does help out. Yeah. But unfortunately, the Wind will drop out of Code A. He will have to requalify if he wants to continue playing in Code A. He may not. Like I said about Shoya back in the past, I didn't know if he was going to try to requalify because now he's a coach. But the Wind, of course, does like to play a lot. He's said in interviews in the past that he just really, really wants to be in Code S. Now he's all the way out of A. So it's unfortunate for him. And I think part of being a coach is you want your players to respect you. You want them to think you're actually good. And when you give them advice, you actually know what you're talking about. So, of course, he really wants to be in Code A. Will he try to qualify again? We'll just have to wait and see. The qualifiers are actually coming up in about 2 weeks, I'd say. So.
Isn't it less than that?
Yeah, actually, it is less than that. I think it's
probably in only a week.
Is it so. Like this next weekend?
Oh man,
maybe?
I hope it's not.
Are you ready, QXC?
I haven't been mentally prepping myself for Code A qualifiers, but
mental preparation is so important actually for those.
Just to gotta grind it. Well, I don't actually know what I was about to explain. I'm still like rolling through that game in my head, like, oh man, like I felt like the Wind played really good. He was just so far behind from the beginning.
Yeah. It gets rough when you get behind like that. I mean, the 6 pool is going to put you behind if it doesn't work, especially if you just keep making Zerlings. He wanted to end the game, but to be able to recover after not ending the game with those Zerlings, and I don't want to say he recovered, but to be able to play that long of a game, make those decisions was really smart. He always had an Overlord checking, and I think if he had seen there were no pylons, or if he had seen one place to Nidus, he would have gone for it. But it just turned out that TAiLS was ready for that. He's like, What are you going to do? I think you'll probably Nidus. I'm going to put pylons there. Or I think you'll probably drop me. Either way, the pylons are there. I'm going to spot you. So
Very hard for the Zerg to really come back from that.
So
Yeah.
I think we are going to have a 5-minute break here in a few seconds, some point, most likely.
Is that like we go off air too?
Yes.
How does that work? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
QXC is new here at the GSL.
I don't know, man. I don't know how it all works. I'm just talking about the games. I'm just watching StarCraft with my
You've
friend.
been doing a great job, man.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks, man.
You've been talking more than me. You just jumped on that game, man.
I was just all over it. It was so interesting.
It
It was all
was?
like 6-pool, and then like the most imbalanced unit in the game, and then like roaches.
We talked about DTs a little bit.
Yeah,
You're
there
like,
were
you
some
can make
DTs.
DTs whenever you want. It's just bad.
Don't let them scout your Dark Shrine, man. Put it underwater. Put it in space. Put it on the moon.
Hide it under your bed. Nobody ever checks there.
Under your
Under your mattress.
Put it in your opponent's natural, where he's least likely. It's so close, I couldn't see.
Sometimes
it.
in
You know what I
PvP,
mean?
I do make Dark Shrines in like the craziest places and just win. Because in PvP, if you ever are losing, just make a Dark Shrine because you might still be able to win.
Yep.
Then if you lose, it's like,
True.
okay, now I
it's
lose.
It's like you take a game where you're like, I have a 20% chance of winning this, and you're like, well, there's probably like a 50% chance that'll make observers. So by going Dark Templar, I'm
increasing
the
my
odds.
chances.
Yeah, man. And that's what it's about. It's about increasing your chances of winning. Which
That
is why
it is.
That's why Tiger went DTs against me.
Yeah.
'Cause he knew his chances of winning without DTs
They just weren't as good,
were
man.
pretty low. DTs boosted him up.
You'll get your revenge
Yep.
one day.
I don't know.
Maybe you'll meet him in the Code A qualifiers.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
There are a lot. That's like how the Korean scene is a lot of times. If someone loses in the Code A qualifiers or loses in a tournament, they say in interviews all the time, "Who do you want to play?" They don't say like, "Oh, my hero is Nesty. I'd love to play him." They're like, "No, that guy beat me last time. I'm gonna take him down."
Yeah, man.
There's something they say it all nice, and they're like, "We're gonna show really good games, but I want to beat that guy."
Did you watch any of the up-down choosing thing?
the up and down matches for Code A and Code S.
No,
Oh, we're gonna have a 5-minute break now. We'll talk about it after. See you guys in 5.
and we will be right back.